We all have a unique view of the world we are in, how you overcome your challenges or attain your goals. Every experience in life has the potential to inspire, influence, and impact those around us. Welcome to the 3i Stories podcast by Better Version of You. Hello again, friends, and welcome to the 3i Stories podcast by Better Vision of You. Once again, today we have an absolutely amazing individual who I'm very sure just listening to his journey, you will be inspired. And I'm super excited to talk to our guest. Let's not delay. Let's welcome our guest for this episode, Mr. Ronneel Krishna. Ronneel, how are you doing today?
Hi Pritesh, how are you? I'm good, thank you. And how are you?
Good, very good, very excited. Ronneel, you have achieved so much in your life in just a short span of time, and you continue to grow and build into a career that you have dreamt of. Ronneel, we would love to know how you have done all this and how you have built from strength to strength. But to start off with, Ronneel, could you just tell us a little bit about life growing up?
Yeah. Thank you, Pritesh. First of all, I'd like to thank you for giving me this opportunity today to sit in front of you and talk about my life journey. Look, I started like I grew up in a small town, a small village called Malolo in Nandi. And age of 10, we moved to Suva. My dad got promoted as a general manager for Benz Phillips office equipment and glass and mirror. So my primary school and high school was through MGM High School, and in the 90s and all that, and then 98 towards 98, and we moved to Auckland, New Zealand. And that's where I went to Manukau Institute of Technology, MIT, and as you know, that's where I think we met as well through friends and families. And look, during the time in MIT, made a lot of good friends. Still connected with them. A lot of families we met, like friends and families now. So yeah, like that's the upbringing. But it was very humble. A lot of things that my dad taught me during my time in Fiji and even moving to New Zealand, it was a reset for us. And watching him watching him grow in his career motivated me. Like the things he taught me and the things he showed me sort of helped me to grow and do better things as a teenager, and also uni life and working part-time, McDonalds and things like that. But yeah, like my mom and dad really taught me one thing was to be humble.
Knowing you, I know you are a very humble person, but I'll try and pull out all these amazing things that you have done in a way that you are okay with. Ronneel, you mentioned moving from Fiji to New Zealand, right? And then from New Zealand, you moved to Australia. I want to focus on the Australian part of your journey because that's where you are based out of currently. So I have two questions for you. One, what made you move to Australia? And two, how was the initial journey settling in Australia?
Yeah, it's a funny one, Pritesh. It wasn't easy to leave mom, dad, your parents, your family, my wife's family. So we came here for holiday to Melbourne, and I had only son, Dylan. My son was that time he was 5 or 6 years old. And the things we did as a family, we went as a tourist here and there. My son loved it, and I just don't know. I just saw Australia as home, and I don't know. I just had a vision that I can do things here, not putting down that we couldn't achieve, what we achieved in Australia, that we couldn't do it in New Zealand. But I don't know. I just saw the opportunity, and it was a risk. Like anything, you have to take a risk. In business, in life, in personal life. When you I'm sure when a young couple gets married, they get a home loan. It's a risk, So we had a good home, we had a good lifestyle, we had everything. But what we did was we just packed our bags and moved to Melbourne, and yeah, started the journey. So look, it was, like I said, it wasn't easy. It was a lot of sacrifice, restarting again, living
Mm.
in a rental house, take my son, he lost all his friends because, he had to make all his friends again. Wife's family was back home, my family. So it was tough. But look, one thing I can say is that I never looked back.
Mm.
We just kept driving and achieving. We set goals and had a vision that we want to do this in certain period of time. And I think, good God will, we achieved those targets and results.
That's incredible. Once growing up in Fiji, you move to New Zealand, right? And you start to grow a little bit of your roots in New Zealand, and then you decide to uproot and move to another country would have been a challenge for sure. But just very briefly, you mentioned you'd already had a child, right? And obviously you moved with your wife and your child. Would have been quite difficult settling in a new school, getting into a new country, into a new rhythm of life. Briefly, just describe what was going on in your mind in the initial days.
Pritesh, I'll be honest with you, man, every second day, thought of going back, and sometimes, like, I'll do it today. I'll just pack it today and then go back.
Oh,
And then, and what stopped me was that, am I gonna keep moving or running around or running away with challenges
mm,
and, obstacles on the way? What I did was just set, like, it was in my mind, I'll be honest with you, first 12 months was very difficult. But what,
mm,
you know, what made me stay back and do it was to fight my own battle. It was a decision that I made. If I would have packed and gone back, I would have never got back. Like, when we were kids, Pritesh, we were learning how to ride bicycle and all that. And we'd have fallen 100 times, right? But we never
mm,
gave up. So that's what motivated me, was to never give up. Even
mm,
though there were days that, I paid all the bills and nothing left in the pocket. And then it was day to day living, right? I've seen those
mm,
days, and I've decided that, you know, I'm going to work so hard. I'm going to make it happen that I don't have to see that day what we went through, in the beginning of our journey when we moved here. So I
mm.
think tough time makes a person better. There's a saying, when it's tough, tough gets going.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And you've shown us that, and that's brilliant. Now, Ronneel, definitely all those qualities, all those characteristics in you would have come from somewhere, right? The ability to fight when it got tough, right? The ability to not give up, the ability to stand up one more time than the number of times you fell. Could you briefly tell us, growing up, was there someone who inspired and motivated you to be who you are?
Like I said before, my parents, my dad always, growing up, he was a very strict man. It was time management was, second to
Mm,
none. Like, if you're late, you were late. He always taught me was that, you got to be early bird. If you want to achieve things in life, you got to get up. There's a
mm,
saying, early bird gets a worm. And he, he he never sat down and taught me, but he was a trainer, or like all our parents. The the
mm,
way that he was, that sort of taught me, like, without even saying it. But him, I grew up watching him because I always wanted to be him, because at an early age, he was the first local to be the position operations manager for Vance Phillips in Fiji. So the first local person to hold that role, and him walking around with the company car, the mobile, and those things motivated me. Like, I just had that go in myself that I want to do this. And you
mm,
know sometimes when you sit down and teach someone, doesn't register. So I'm one of those
mm.
was that I will step back and watch and learn and try and add my own, recipe to the menu and get it that way. And and that was from my father. And my mom was she stayed home. She looked after us while dad was out working and, building his career, building his own mark in Suva. Like, he was into his properties and his career. And whereas mom stayed back with us and taught us the humble life, we were normal. Like,
Mm,
even though we had all these doom and glooms of the copper world dad was in, but she kept us, the grassroots level, get up in the morning, prayer, home cooked meal, and those kind of things. So it was a good mixture where dad was, full on, and mom was a little bit step back and taught us
mm.
to be a good human.
It's beautiful. The impact of parents, once again, is highlighted. And there's been a theme in our podcast, the importance of our parents setting that foundation right for us to step upon and then jump off. And I'm sort of similar age to you. And I know when we were growing up, the parents of today compared to our
Mm,
parents were quite different,
mm,
right? There were a lot of unsaid things that we were just expected to pick up
yeah,
and work and build upon,
yeah,
whereas times have changed quite a bit now. I mean, I remember with my mom and dad as well. We would barely get a hug and a kiss
yeah,
because when we were growing up, that was different, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
but
And, yeah, there was other ways to tell you that they loved us, and, and nowadays we have to say to the kids and love you and kiss you and, all those things.
mm,
So the love and affection was totally delivered a different way, which I think was the best way, made us strong to fight this world,
mm,
to fight all the challenges, ups and downs. And yeah, and I think you got to survive in this world to go through all that.
No, you're absolutely right. It gave us those qualities to face what we as grown-ups are facing now, I think. Now, Ronneel, like I said, I'll be focusing more on your Australian journey. You mentioned once you moved with your family, there were days, every second day, you almost thought about going back, right? But you knew there was a goal, that you wanted to achieve something. And there would have been a shift in your mindset. And I think you have termed it sacrifice over comfort. How did you embrace that, and how did you adopt that in the early stages of your life?
Yeah. My wife, Nandini Krishna, she was the pillar. She made sure that the main aspect of your life was your household, right? The kids. Nandini made sure that she took control of that, whereas I have concentrated on the career, building
Hmm.
what we wanted to. There were days that like I said, I was down and I'll say, "Yep, this is it," and she will motivate me and say, "We have done this much. You are on the," like, she just motivates me, say things that I will get up and when I just change the world. And the best thing about Nandini was Pritesh was that she was not asking big things. Whatever was provided, she made gold out of it. Meaning, with the
Beautiful.
kids, with the house, with the religious part, the prayer and all that. And with a stressful day and all that challenges you walk in, it was a home. And like she always maintained, if you live in a hut or in a palace, it has to be a home. So that what kept me going, Pradesh. And you know, to be what I am today goes to her all the credits. So her and I worked as a team. So, like
Mm.
what I saw my mom and dad did, and obviously we did it different, but it was a tag team that we achieved all that.
That's wonderful, and I'm so happy to hear. It is teamwork, especially in what you are doing now, where you are the leader of the family. You are venturing into all these, and some even sometimes you may say unknowns, right? You're stepping into and extending your territory, and if the home front is not stable, as a man, I know how difficult that can be. And I loved how you said that it's a tech team, it's a team effort with your wife Nandini holding the household together with the kids,
Mm.
ensuring that she has a safe, comfortable environment for you as the father, as the leader of the home to go. Like in the olden days, you go hunt and you come back to a household where you're expecting things, right?
Yes.
Obviously, we don't hunt,
Yes.
uh,
Us.
but
We do
uh,
go out and,
very happy.
yeah.
Absolutely, very happy for you. And two, you had role model parents. Now that's again to our listeners, and I suppose I'm sure you'd share the same sentiments. The importance of the presence of parents in the lives of children growing up. Right? In New Zealand, it's becoming quite a bit of a challenge
Mm.
where it's called, or almost a syndrome, where it's called the syndrome of the missing parents, where the parents are not there in the lives of the children. So I'm very happy to hear that you had that role model parents, and I love it how you said you did it differently, but at least you had some qualities to role model from your parents. And then you mentioned you and your career. So now I'll transition to your
Yeah.
career, some of the major achievements that you have been able to attain. Just in the last 10 years, what has been some of your achievements, Ronneel?
Yeah, Pradesh, like, what we discussed before was leaving everything and coming and start fresh. So when leaving New Zealand, I always wanted to do big box, right? So big box retailing is like so Bunnings, Coles, Office Works, Kmart, and those kind of things. So I joined West Farmers Group and never had exposure to big box retail where there's 100 staff and doing 50 million, $20 million turnovers. So I walked in as as a 2IC, and I had a vision. Like I wanted to be a manager where I can control, and the Aussie lifestyle was different. The Aussie managers were loud, outgoing, and
Mm,
I always thought that I'll be a victim of racism or nepotism or favoritism. But I'll be honest with you, but there was none of that in here in Australia. Like
mm,
the career waits to you. You work hard, you get recognized. You work hard, you get promoted. You put in the hours, you get the rewards. So that was the vision. That was my goal to achieve, was to go to the next level, meaning be a complex manager for Bunnings. So worked really
mm,
hard and achieved that. And I did that for 3 years. And with my experience, my qualification, that was the highest level could go up to. And then one day I decided to join Harvey Norman franchise when they were looking for franchisees because the business was growing in Australia. So I joined Harvey Norman in 2016. Once again, packed my bags, moved the family to New South Wales, Tweed Heads, which is near to the Coolangatta Airport near Gold Coast. I had no idea where there was. And once again, took the risk, packed the bags,
mm,
moved wife and 2 kids with, basically nothing, just little savings in our pocket, and
mm,
took that franchise. Did that for 1 year and then did really good, build a client. It was a local small market. Going to a regional town, Pritesh, I owned the market, meaning I went out there, introduced myself, who I am, and
mm,
just out loud. And this something my friend Kamal told me once. He goes, Ronneel, you got a gift of a gab. I said, what do you mean? He goes, you can talk to anyone, you can persuade anyone, you can get them on your side. And that stuck on my head for a long time. And sometimes
mm,
people have to tell you what skill set you have, because it's inside
mm.
you and you don't know until you get told. And
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and then I did that, and then one day I decided to get into a bigger franchise, which was in Brisbane, Gumman. And then I was discussing this with my another friend, Sam Gounder, as you know him as well, a very successful businessman in New Zealand. And he said to me,
Mm,
he goes, Ronneel, whatever you do, whatever you're gonna touch is gonna turn into gold because you have that drive. And he said, don't worry about it, don't look back, just do it. And if you're gonna
mm,
fall, you're gonna get up. It's not that you're gonna crawl, you're gonna get up. And
Mm,
yeah, so that was my journey with Harvey Norman. We did it for almost 9 years, and we ventured into business development properties throughout Logan area, buying and selling, and then we got into commercial properties. Nandini looked after all that aspects, whereas I was in the retail. She was part of the construction, the property side, and then recently, Pritesh, we got into petroleum and retail business, which
mm,
is the biggest purchase we have done so far in our career. So, in short, that's within 10 years, um, packing the bags with little savings, uh,
mm,
sold everything, sold the house, renting, and then, today we're sitting here and saying, this is what I achieved with the partnership with my wife, Tech Team.
mm.
And
That's beautiful.
yeah,
Mm,
and I think it's a balance. If you want to do that, achieve, you want to buy the world, I think you just got to have a amazing partner where you can bounce off each other and get ideas, get support, and achieve goals in life. And one more thing as well is the kids. They were
mm,
they grew up having a good life, but they never abused that. They never asked anything big, or they're not spoiled brats that where they were disrespectful to their grandparents, mom's parents, or
mm,
mom's family, or my family. That they've been always been humble. And that's what
mm,
it started from. I'm sure it started from my grandparents to my father, mother, and then we have done with our kids.
mm. Oh, that's beautiful. Look, no doubt you're a great leader. You have taken risks, and then those risks have turned into gold. You mentioned Harvey Norman. A lot of people are aware of the Harvey Norman brand in New Zealand as well. They
Yes.
have a fairly large footprint. You mentioned owning Harvey Norman, or branch of Harvey Norman, should I say. You got into property development, so you extended your territory a little bit. And then you mentioned petroleum. I would love to know a little bit more about petroleum. But before I do that, I really like how you're saying that, together with your family. That's so important because when, as the leader, your vision is clearly understood by your kids, your wife, then they feel a part of it. It's a shared vision all of a sudden, not just Ronneel's vision, sorry, but it is Ronneel and Nandini's vision that the kids now are following as well.
Yeah.
That's such a great way as a leader because I have seen that there are many leaders, if the foundations that they are standing upon, if that's not solid, things crumble pretty quick.
Yep.
Because at a high level, the risks you are taking, if you don't have a safe space, if you don't have that peace and calmness at home to then recover, recoup, and then head to the battle the next day, that can take a toll on people, right?
Yeah.
So well done, Ronneel. Talking about toll, how do you manage your well-being in your mind and your space with your kids? Just a general
Mm.
holistic
Yeah.
well-being. How,
Sorry,
how do you manage this
sorry, Pritesh,
today?
I'll keep going to the grassroots. You know, growing up, my dad made sure every night having dinner, he had his family around him.
Mm,
So he sat on that, the boss's chair, the man of the house chair. It's
yeah,
always, I don't
yeah.
know if that's happening nowadays or no. Back in my time, those things were happening. Dad had his chair, and then mum sat there. I sat there, and my brother sat next to my mum. So, and then that
Mm,
that that dinner was always about, educational, the life planning, the life rules, regulations. You got to do this. You got to achieve this. What's tomorrow. So Dad made sure he had dinner with his family every day. It was no miss.
mm,
And same thing we deliver. Nandini and I are delivering with the kids was. I'll be honest with you, it's not every day because I have to be in and out. I have to go somewhere or do something.
mm,
But Nandini made sure she will have dinner with the kids. 2 or 3 of them will, and most nights I will be there with them. And yeah, same message goes to the boys. Make sure you finish school, make sure you be humble, make sure you're honest, make sure you are, giving back. We'll talk about religious stuff, because we are quite religious. And if you want to your question, yeah, I've dedicated a lot of my time with the religion side as well. So we talk about all that, and yeah, it's just every day. It's same as leadership, same as parenting. You gotta talk about it every day and deal with the message every day.
That's amazing, Ronneel, because what you've learned, once again, you're bringing it and applying it in your family life. And I know the importance of having dinner as a family daily, as simple and basic as it sounds, but it is such a time of coming together and just understanding how each other's days were, the struggles, the challenges, the learnings, the mistakes. And I know the younger generation now, and talking about how we see things as that aspect is missing, and maybe once or twice a week only, as opposed to 3 or 4 times a week. That's one thing we can take away from that. But two, a lot of times going to the social aspect of it, we are there at the tables, but we are on our devices, right? So I won't dig much into
Yeah.
that.
Well,
But the importance of
yeah, 100% Pritesh. And one rule Nandini made is no phones on dinner table.
There you go. That's beautiful. That's wonderful, because that human connection gets missing, so to speak, not just in the corporate world, but in our
Yeah.
personal lives as well.
Yeah.
Now, Renee, I want to briefly talk about petroleum. So what are you doing in the petroleum industry?
We ventured into a brand called United. United is a petrol side of the business, and then they have Quick Stop, which is the groceries and the impulse buying, and then it has a pie face, which pie face is the pies, sandwiches, and barista made coffee. So there's 3 brands under one roof. It's one of the fastest growing petrol business in Australia at the moment. And I just recently ventured with them. And how I did it 6 months ago, sitting and thinking, what's next? What's in demand? What's recession proof? What's going to keep going? You got to understand the market. It was a 6 months of research. You got to understand the location. You got to understand your customers, all that, Pritesh. And yeah, we spent almost more than 6 months into learning about the business and making sure we're getting into this right investment. Everyone needs petrol, and there were naysayers to me saying, "Oh, electric's coming, and it's a dying market." It's 20 years away at the moment, and who knows what's going to happen in 20 years. And yes, I took the risk.
Absolutely amazing. And Ronnie, it wasn't just the risk you took, because you mentioned about taking risks, but you also had friends you could count on, who could advise you, who could tell you what the right things were, or at least bounce off ideas. And once again, the importance of having the right people in your corner before you progress is highlighted here. Having good, trustworthy friends who will give you the right
Yeah.
advice.
I do have only, few limited friends, Pritesh, now. Like, as you know, as a teenager and all that, how outgoing I was, if there was any birthdays or parties, I'll invite everyone to it, all that. And then, over the time, you gotta step back and see who's important, not being selfish, but saying, if you hang out with 5 good people, you'll be the sixth good person, even if you're gonna hang out with 5 bad people, you're gonna be the sixth bad person, So you just gotta motivate yourself to be around with people that will, once again, it's business talk, mate. It's return on investment.
Absolutely. And sometimes the higher you go and the more focused and determined you are, the more you have to kind of let go to
Yes.
have that core,
Yeah.
that trim the edges,
Yeah.
so to
Yeah.
speak, in the fringes.
Yeah.
So well done. Looks like you have done that. Now, as a leader, as a manager, more so I'm talking about in your corporate, in your commercial space, you would have multiple people reporting to you. What is your leadership style?
My leadership style changed over the years. Age of 18, I was the shift manager for McDonald's. And I thought I was the best thing after sliced bread. And I was just yelling, screaming. My head was bigger than the brand. And I was very
Mm,
proud of it, though. People worked in McDonald's, they would hide it or be ashamed of it. I was very proud of it. I would
mm.
wear my uniform to everywhere, Manicure Mall, go and do this
Yeah,
just to
yeah.
show off that I'm the manager there. But the hardest part was working in Otara McDonald's, one of the hardest one to work. And what it taught me was that you gotta be a manager. You gotta lead by example. You gotta delegate and follow up. You got to be people's manager where it's needed. There was a
Mm,
terminology used, kick and love. You tell them, you give them corrective feedback, but same time you got to show love and affection and care about your staff. And the hardest
mm,
way I learned was people used to call in sick if they see my car were parked in the car park. And the crew members will call in sick. And then what happens? I'm the
mm,
one suffering on the floor, working, day and night, just trying to make sure the business is run well. So that taught me that
mm,
part. And to date, I talk to my every staff, every team member every day. I make sure I talk
mm,
to them. I make sure ask about their family, how they are, and all that. That's important for me because if someone talks to me about my family, then I have that personal touch with that person, and then I open up. And that's what I do.
mm,
It's just gotta treat your staff the way you want to be treated. And I
mm,
build good people around me to be successful. To be successful, you need good people around you to make you look good. Sounds selfish, but
mm,
you gotta train and develop to do that because otherwise, if I say I achieve all this by myself, then I'll be lying to you and myself as well. So I would dedicate this achievement as well to my team of people that are around me. And once again, going back to Nandini, she's the one that keeps them intact because sometimes they wouldn't come to me and open up. So they will go to her and then she will come to me and ask me, are you in a good mood today? I say, hey, what's wrong? And then she will talk to me about it. And then I will put it back to her and say, what do you think? I will do it this way.
mm.
I would let it, someone who might be short of some money to pay some bills or something. And then
Yeah, yeah.
we'll do that. Like, we reward our staff. We
Mm,
recognize our staff. We celebrate success with my team. A
brilliant.
lot of managers or the business owners, what they do is the profit or the reward or the success is within themselves. Where what I make sure, Pritesh, is that I reinvest in the business in my team because that's
Mm,
where the income, that's where the success comes from. So why don't we, reinvest in the staff and the business? And yeah, my leadership, like I said, I'm people's manager. Like I've changed over the time. When my older son was born, I changed. When my second son was born, I've changed. And with the age and experience over the time, I think we do
mm,
intend to change and become better leaders in the time in life because we go through all the mistakes that I made, the things I've done wrong. I fixed it, and still, like I look back and say, "Oh, I should have done this way 3 years ago. I would have been a better position." But
mm,
we learn from all that. And
mm,
my dad always said, king dies, kingdom goes. So no one's gonna sit and wait for you. So
mm.
while you're there, you make your mark. You create your own legacy, and that's what
Wonderful.
we do every day. Is talk to your team.
I absolutely love that, Ronneel. And I'm a firm believer the more we know our people, the more valued they
Mm,
feel, the harder they work, or they give in
yeah.
more to support the brand to
Mm,
ensure
mm,
that the brand grows because it's not just Ronneel growing, but everyone together is
yeah. Yeah.
growing.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of
Yeah.
leadership because leadership now has changed from the last 50, 60 years ago. If you look at it, it's more about being compassionate. It's more about being empathetic towards the people you have influence over.
Mm,
And then we have seen, and I know you have seen the benefit of
yes.
it. So that's brilliant, great leadership there,
Yeah.
Ronneel.
Sorry, Pritesh. One more thing is
Yep, sure.
on the leadership side, you get them involved as well. You ask them how would you do it? What do you think? You get their opinion. It makes them proud as well. Oh, look, whatever's going to work, it's going to be mine. And one more thing I always do is I go and sit in my warehouse where the stock gets dispersed and all that, and I'll talk to the sales team and saying what the customers are asking. You need to know your market. You need to know your customers. What are the opportunities we are missing? We got to get that. Like, we got to be best in the market. We got to have the value for that product. So, I just want to be the best. And that's the attitude. Like, I just tell my guys, you're working for the best business in the world, the Harvey Norman brand, and you got to be number one. And that's what we try every day. You just got to be the best.
No, that's wonderful. And a lot of it is the customer experience part of it, right? Ronneel, as we draw towards the close of our podcast, what does success mean to Ronneel Krishna?
Success means it's a good one. Family, healthy family, your health and your wealth. Yeah, to me, but most important is your family, and you're doing all this, and if your health's not right, Pritesh, then there's no point. So, like I said, you can live in a hut, you can live in a palace, but your family's got to be healthy, and that's the success for me. And that's what I'm sure my grandparents looked at it. My father has done it, and that's what we work towards. And also, Pritesh, we give as well. I went to MGM High School, and I still have friends from that. And what we done is we created a little foundation, and we give back to the children of our Fiji. There's no racism. We give it to everyone. Not doesn't matter who you are, what you are. We give back to the old people home once again, no matter where you come from, where you are. And every year during Christmas time, we're trying to target 2 towns and rotate that every year. I'm giving food, ice cream, and clothes to the kids on the streets and things like that. So, yeah, so if you talk about success, you just got to give, you don't have to give everything of your earnings, but yeah, we do that, and we don't advertise, we don't tell people, we just do it silently, and it's a different joy on that, to give back to the community, give back to the needy. The God doesn't say, come and invest in the temples or give it to the priest. I don't believe in that. I believe in give it to the God's kids and the people that are there.
That's wonderful, Ronneel. That is so good, and thank you for sharing that aspect of your life. But it is said that it's important for people to, one, work hard, and two, to have money. It's not about the money that's the problem. It's about what we do with our money. And I think you have worked out a great formula. You work very hard, you earn, but you distribute it the right way as well, where you serve and you give extra bonuses and share it with your staff. Keep it for your family well-being and for the rainy days ahead. Well done, Ronneel. That is just amazing formula in terms of how you see success, right? Now, any final closing words, and then we'll do a quick fire round.
Driving and keep climbing. Don't look back.
Beautiful. Don't give up. Keep driving, keep climbing, and don't look back. Right. Quick fire round, Ronneel, just to have some fun. What is one book you recommend to everyone?
Good to Great. A book called Good to Great.
Good to Great. Got that. What is one skill you think everyone should have?
Just be humble.
Humility. Love it. All-time favorite actress?
Karishma Kapoor.
Karishma Kapoor, Bollywood. Early bird or night owl?
Early bird, like I said before, early bird gets the warm, you got to get up and keep hunting.
Nice. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Nice one. Favorite food?
Dal and rice. Dal bhat.
Dal and rice.
Simple.
I love it.
Yes.
Absolutely love it. And last one, New South Wales or Queensland?
New South Wales. Go the Blues. Yeah.
All right, Ronneel. Hey, thank you so much for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you and to just hear the amazing work you have been doing in your inspiring journey. And I'm very sure our listeners, our viewers will be very inspired.
Yeah.
Thank you once again, Ronneel. And to our viewers, thank you once again for joining the 3i Stories podcast. Keep well. We will see you in
Yeah.
the next episode. Till then, subscribe, like, and do share. Thank you.